Welcome to the Story Lab. Today, we return to the Stargate universe to look at the last two seasons of Stargate SG-1. Stargate SG-1 seasons 9 and 10 are basically a different show, with its own main characters, Cam Mitchell, Hank Landry, etc., and main villains, the Ori. The first few episodes of the series are one continuous story, starting with the discovery of the Ori and showing the first encounters between the species of this galaxy with the Ori priors. After that, the show sort of loses that focus a bit. The Ori are still here of course, but the threat they pose becomes more of a background for other STORs. From today's streaming perspective, why wasn't the rest of the series made into a continuous arc too? That is what we will try to do today. The idea is to cut out episodes that are not needed for the Ori-Arc and focus more on the threat of the Ori by reconstructing the Ori-Arc of Stargate. What's the plan exactly? We will use only episodes of the series as is but reorder them so that the story is more continuous. We cut out episodes that are not needed for the Ori-Arc. When reordering, we keep the structure of mid-season finales and end/beginning season finales in place as good as possible. The only episode we certainly won't delete, even if it made sense, is the 200th episode, which is of course a special event. Any spots in the season that stay open we will fill with Search for the Arc of Truth, thus leading more directly into the movie The Arc of Truth, that will of course end the Ori-Arc. Okay, that is all we need to give to our supercomputer for this experiment. Let's see what it comes up with. Here we go, the reordering is completed. The Stargate Ori-Arc reordered. The restructured Ori-Arc starts exactly the way it does in the original series with the three-parter Avalon, Avalon Part 2 and Origin, during which the SGC learns of the Ori and vice versa, and the first priors arrive in the galaxy to spread the religion of Origin and destroy any non-believers. The next episode is The Ties That Bind, which introduces the reason for Vala Mal Doran to stay at the SGC longer and gives us the Lucian Alliance. In the original series, the Lucian Alliance is sort of the secondary villain of the show. In our version we will have them more as a background danger. As in the original series, the Powers That Be, where we get introduced to the Prior Plague, and Beachhead follow next. At this point in the original, the series diverges a bit from the main story by giving us an episode about Baal on Earth. We would skip this one if it did not also deal with the Jaffa government. Since we just had dealt the Ori a blow, we can look away for a moment. Thus, just as in the original, the next episodes are Ex Deus Machina, then Babylon, where we meet the Soden, and Prototype, which is about Kholek. The Kholek story leads directly into the SGC developing anti-Ori technology in the Fourth Horseman Parts 1 and 2. In the original, this two-parter is more or less the mid-season finale. In our reordered version, we follow up on those with Ethon, an episode with shock value, as our starship the Prometheus gets destroyed and we learn quickly that even prior blocking technology won't save the galaxy from the Ori. The episodes Collateral Damage and Stronghold from the original series we skip. Any important scenes from them will be integrated into the next episodes, which are Ripple Effect, The Scourge, as a bit of a lighthearted breather, and Off the Grid, which brings back both the Lucian Alliance and Baal as secondary villains, but also mostly defeats both of them. We end the season with a big multiple-part finale in Arthur's Mantle, Crusade, Camelot, Flesh and Blood, and then the big crossover with Atlantis in the Pegasus Project, which will be our season finale. This story fits more or less with the timeline of Stargate Atlantis itself, which at the time is dealing with the Michael situation, where an unspecific amount of time passes. In summary, Season 9 goes as follows: 1. Avalon Part 1. 2. Avalon Part 2. 3. Origin. 4. The Ties That Bind. 5. The Powers That Be. 6. Beachhead. Then, it's Ex Deus Machina. Babylon. Prototype. The Fourth Horseman Parts 1 and 2. Ethon. Ripple Effect. The Scourge. Off the Grid. Arthur's Mantle. Crusade. Camelot, Flesh and Blood, and finally the Pegasus Project. Obviously, we have now already used the big starters of the original Season 10 at the end of our Season 9. We still want to start with a bigger episode though, so we choose Insiders as our first episode of Season 10. During this episode, SG-1 rounds up all the Ball clones, but they trick the SGC and steal vital information about the Sangreal from them. The next episode is then Morpheus, which is altered slightly, because it is originally in this episode that Vala gets added to the team. In our version, this happens before Insiders and is simply confirmed during Morpheus, also explaining why Vala is so anxious to make it happen. We then get Counter-Strike as the next big episode, refocusing on the Ori, followed by Uninvited, which takes away the possibility for us to use the Soden cloaking devices. Then we add Memento Mori, where Vala forgets her identity for a bit, and which is the first episode focused entirely on her. The next episode is of course 200, because it is the 200th episode of the series, and we then follow up on that with our first episode focusing entirely on Cameron Mitchell. That's right, we add collateral damage here, after we hinted at Mitchell's backstory for a whole year, making this a payoff long deserved. In this proposal we now had 4 episodes that did not focus on the Ori. We imply though, that Daniel Jackson has spent most of this time researching the location of the Sangreal, but simply not finding it. So it is a relief, when Vala has a dream, that leads her right to the correct planet at the beginning of the quest part 1. We then have quest part 2 of course and Line in the Sand, which is a follow-up, where Sam has to deal with Daniel having been captured at the end of the quest. This is also our mid-season finale. The latter half of the season starts with the Road Not Taken, followed by the Shroud, where our team finally manages to get rid of the Ori, even if their soldiers are still about. With the Ori much weakened after the Shroud, we get a bit of focus on the Lucian Alliance with the episode's Company of Thieves and Bounty. We skip over Bad Guys, which is a bit of a weird episode, and do Family Ties instead, which not only deals with Vala Maldoran's relationship with her father but also that of General Landry and his daughter. We also skip Talion this way. Talion is a great episode, but it is another Teal'c Bloodpath episode, which we had in other seasons too. Then of course we need Dominion, where Audria returns, Ball is defeated once more and Audria ascends. As a follow-up to this episode, we get a completely new episode, where the team is concerned about Audria now gaining all the power of the Ori and search for more ways to defeat her. They return to the cave where Merlin was, and it is there that Daniel first has the vision of the Arc of Truth. Now we get the episode Bad Guys, with the slightly altered context, that the team hoped to find the Arc of Truth in the museum, and stuck around so long, because they were unsure as to whether the Arc really was not there. A similarly themed episode will follow, where the team tries to find the Arc of Truth, but discovers only vague references. Daniel mentions that they should try Dakra too. But, at this point we have reached the end of the series and thus it is time for unending. So, let's look at the whole story once more. As an overview we display our Season 9 one more time. Our new Season 10 then goes as follows: 1. Insiders. 2. Morpheus. 3. Counter-Strike. 4. Uninvited. 5. Memento Mori. 6. 200. 7. Collateral Damage. Followed by the quest parts 1 and 2. The Line in the Sand. The Road Not Taken. The Shroud. Company of Thieves. Bounty. Family Ties. Dominion. A new episode about the Arc of Truth. Bad Guys. Another new episode about the Arc of Truth. Unending. Please note that everything presented here is simply the results of an experiment. No part of this presentation is intended as a correction of an existing story or claims to be the real story. The selection or omission of any parts of the source material is not to be understood as commentary, positive or negative, on the original productions. These are simply thoughts and experiments based on existing material, and none of it could be created without the work of all those involved in creating the original works. As with any scientific result, you may utilize any of the story ideas that resulted from these experiments for your own experiments or production, while citing this experiment as its source. It is now closing time for our lab. Goodbye and until next time.